Hi guys, welcome back to the Distinction Factory where we make our mark. And today we are going to be focusing on grade 10 trigonometry, specifically the special angles part of it. So down here I've got SOHCAHTOA, which we should know how to use already. And we've got our special angles, which are 30, 45, and 60. And yes, your teacher is going to give you a table with sine, cos, and tan of each of those angles, and then you'll have to by heart the values. But I find that a bit inefficient, so instead we use the special triangles. So what we'll do is we'll start off with the 60 degrees. We can put the 60 degrees down here. And if we have to use angles in a triangle, we can solve for this missing angle, which will work out to give us 30 degrees. And you'll notice that we have used up 2 of our special angles. From here, you can either use a calculator to get the length of the sides, or you can just by heart it, which is what most students opt to do instead. And if we are by hearting it, you can think of it as you are counting downwards. So you're going from root of 3 to 1. From there, we can go on to our next angle, which is 45 degrees. So this is where we fill it into the second triangle over here. And if we have to use angles in a triangle, we'll calculate this missing angle to also be 45 degrees. Now we've used up that last special angle. And again, we can just by heart these, or you could use the calculator. But if you're by hearting it, think of it as 1, 1, and root of 2. So I do suggest that you pause the video here, by heart these, and try redrawing them over and over again, maybe about 4 or 5 times, until you get the hang of it without looking at the screen. From here, we can go on to our question. It says simplify fully without the use of a calculator. So they do not want you to use a calculator, but I'll show you a little trick where you can use a calculator instead. And you'll notice that this question has angles like 45, 60, and 30. And whenever you get questions like this, that's our hint to us that we have to use our special triangles for these. We're going to start by substituting each value. So the first one asks us to solve for tan of 45. So we'll go to our 45 degrees, which is here, and they want tan. So tan is your opposite over adjacent. So opposite to the 45 is 1, and adjacent to the 45 is 1. So that means that we will write it as 1 over 1. You could have also used the other 45 degrees from up here, and you'll end up with the same answer regardless. Then they say cosec of 60, and cosec is the reciprocal of sine. So instead of reading sine as opposite over hypotenuse, we will read it as hypotenuse over opposite. We read it backwards. So we can now go over to our 60 degrees, which is here. And our hypotenuse is 2, and our opposite is root of 3. So it'll end up being 2 over square root of 3. Then they have cot of 30. So cot is the reciprocal of tan. And again, instead of reading it as opposite over adjacent, we read it as adjacent over opposite. And they're talking about the 30 degrees, which is up here. Our adjacent side is the root of 3, and our opposite side is 1. So that ends up being root of 3 over 1. Then we can go on to our next one. Our next one talks about cos square 45. So we'll first solve for cos of 45, and thereafter we'll put that in brackets and square the entire thing. So let's look at cos. Cos is our adjacent over hypotenuse, and they're talking about the 45 degrees, which is here. So our adjacent side is 1, and our hypotenuse is square root of 2. So 1 over square root of 2. But remember that it is squared. So we'll put this in brackets and we'll square the entire thing. So at this point, you can now put this whole thing into your calculator and get your answer and write it out. Or you could do it without the use of a calculator. But you don't get marks for doing that working out. They only give you marks for your substitution. So you get a mark here, 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 and here. and then you get a mark for your final answer. So you can use your calculator from this point onwards. But I'll show you how to do it without the use of a calculator. At the top, we are multiplying fractions. So whenever you multiply fractions, you say top times top over bottom times bottom. And our tops are 2 times 1, which gives us 2, over our bottoms is 1 times root of 3, which gives us root of 3. That whole fraction is over this part here. Let's first get rid of the square. So this fraction stays exactly as it is, root of 3 over 1. And this gets squared. So we'll square the 1, which is just 1. And the square of root 2 will just be root of 2. Then we can simplify this. We still have our 2 over root of 3 at the top. And at the bottom, we can now do this method. So root of 3 times 1 gives me root of 3. And this is over 1 times 2, which is 2. From this part, we are dividing two fractions by each other. So when we're dividing fractions, we follow the KFC method. So if we're following the KFC method, it means that we have this top fraction, which is 2 over root of 3, being divided by the bottom fraction, which is root of 3 over 2. And now we can apply KFC. So I'll continue with this up here. We're going to keep our first fraction as it is, which is 2 over root of 3. And then we're going to flip the second fraction around. So that will end up being 2 over root of 3. Lastly, we change the sign. So instead of division, that will change to become multiplication. And we know how to multiply fractions. We multiply the tops together and then we multiply the bottoms together. So 2 times 2 gives me 4. And then we've got root of 3 times root of 3, which just becomes 3. And that should be our final answer. If you instead chose to go with the calculator way, I'll show you guys how to type it into your calculator. We have fractions in fractions here. So what I'll do is I'll make my main fraction and then I can now substitute these parts here. So we've got 1 over 1. If you're quick with it, we know that that is just 1, but I'll show you how to put it as a fraction anyways. We'll type the 1, make a fraction and put the 1 at the bottom. Exit that small fraction, so we press the right button and we multiply that by 2 fraction button root of 3. From here, we can scroll down to our denominator and we've got root of 3 over 1, so we do not need to put that in a fraction. And this is being times by 1 over root of 2 all squared. So we'll put a bracket, 1 over square root of 2, exit the root, exit the fraction, close your bracket and square the entire thing. And this ends up giving you 4 over 3. You do not need to round this off unless they state so. But in this case, we can just write our answer as 4 over 3. I do have another question down here, which you guys can now pause the video and try it out by yourself. And once you're done, you can check your answer. All right, I'm hoping you guys have tried out the question and I've got our answers down here. They first wanted sine of 30. Sine is your opposite over hypotenuse for 30. So here's our 30. Opposite is 1 over hypotenuse of 2. Then they want cot of 45. Cot is going to be the reciprocal of tan. So it would be your adjacent over your opposite. Here's our 45. Our adjacent is 1 and our opposite is 1. So I've substituted it up here. Then they want cos of 30. Cos is your adjacent over your hypotenuse. So root of 3 over 2. And then they want tan of 60. So tan is your opposite over your adjacent. And we've got root of 3 over 1. Again, you can put that straight into your calculator, or you could work it out without the calculator. And your final answer will be 1 over 3. I hope this video helped you guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you.